When I think about legacy, I think of Randy Carter. Randy Carter was my grandpa, Pawpaw. He was a preacher, he was a pastor, and there have been many times after he was retired that he would go and travel and do interim preaching, and so he would have me come, he asked me to come along, so I went along with him because I was getting free lunch afterwards. And so I'd hop along in the car, and we'd go there, I hear him preach, I get to hear these stories, and some of them I never even heard before. And then afterwards, he tells me of how in which he ministers to people, why he does what he does, how he even broke down the message and stuff like that. That even to this day, when I go into my study and I prepare even this sermon this evening, I have pictures of my papa and I. I have that investment from him pouring into my life. I remember the first time I preached, he asked me to speak for him. It was the shortest sermon ever. I mean, we were done in 7 minutes. I mean, everybody there, probably everybody here's like, Zach, can you tighten it up a little bit? Can you make this go a little quicker? But he encouraged me afterwards. When I think of legacy, I think of also Nicole's grandparents who've gone to be with the Lord, that through the resources that God had blessed them with, they wanted to give back, and they blessed churches. They blessed organizations. They blessed Christian-minded organizations and businesses. They even blessed Christian universities so much to build buildings for their campus that when they were called and said, since you've given so much, can we put your name on the buildings? That we don't want our name on the building. We want God to get the glory. They are investing for the future, for Christians, for students to learn and get a Christian biblical worldview. I also think, when I think of legacy, I think of this church. 1841, when this church started on the bayou. And the mission was the Great Commission. And it's still our mission today. The purpose of the church was to make Jesus known, to expand the kingdom, which we're talking about tonight. Think about, we have campuses all over our city. We have ministries all over our city. We have missionaries all over the world who have been invested in and poured into from this church and from the generosity of people that even in decades and even over hundreds of years ago, that investment that was made is making an impact even today and touching lives that they never saw. What about you? What's your legacy? Legacy. See, even though he would never build the temple, David accumulated resources and wealth for the building of the temple during his lifetime, because we see in verses 8 and verses 11, David dedicated these to the Lord. He wanted to build the temple. He saw himself in the palace. He's like, man, this is really nice. But then he looked over and he saw God's worship, the tabernacle, in a tent. And he said, why am I in a palace and God is in a tabernacle? We need to build a temple. But God told him that it wasn't going to be done by him. But here, notice the pattern here. The Lord made David victorious, verse 6. And David dedicated his spoils to the Lord, verse 11. There's a pattern. The provision of God would spur him to be generous and grateful. Is that your pattern? That when God blesses you, no matter whether it be financially, whether it be with health, whatever it might be, that God would bless with skills, talents, giftings that God has gifted you, what's your pattern? Is it to make him known? Is it to then be not only grateful for it, but then to use it for him? I'm dedicating my gifts to the Lord. Not for own personal use, not for personal gain, but for the Lord.
Hey, thanks for watching. To find out more about Houston's First, you can subscribe to our channel or you can go to houstonsfirst.org.